Hi, this is Tom Shue. Welcome to my blog. Today we're going to do our first of several Christmas cards. First, we'll start off by defining a template. Okay, so we'll click New, and if you come in here, and we'll start with inches. Most cards that we're going to work with, they're going to be 5 by 7 inches. So we'll just go right to inches, and we'll make our width 7 and our height 5. This will be one of those cards that kind of flip up instead of reading like a book. Be a 5 by 7. We're going to be working in 16-bit mode. Resolutions will be 300. We'll have a transparent background. We'll be working in RGB, and our color space will be sRGB. So we're going to save this as a 7-inch by 5-inch tutorial card. So we click OK. We'll cancel here. So whenever we want to do a 5 by 7 horizontal card, we can just click New and then browse from our template, and we'll call it the 7 by 5 tutorial, and then there you have it. So we'll start off by filling this background with a gradient. So we'll, in our foreground color, let's just pick maybe a green color, maybe something like this. And in the background color, we'll go to the same similar greens, except we'll go a little bit darker. Okay, maybe we need to go a little bit lighter on the first color. Alright. If we don't like that, we'll change it. So we'll go into the gradient tool. If you go underneath the paint bucket, you can grab your gradient. And these let you just choose the kind of gradient you're going to do. However, we want to do foreground to background. Okay, so it's going to sample between those two colors. And if we did like a radial gradient, it means that we'd have a circle from our foreground to our background. But we're going to do a linear gradient. If you just do a small line, it's going to do a little bit of foreground. And if you do a long line, it's going to do a lot of foreground. All the way across, it'll be all foreground for the most part. So we'll just go around halfway, and it will give us kind of a 50-50. You can go at an angle, you go sideways, or you can go top to bottom, left to right. Okay, so it's pretty neat to work with these gradients. So we'll just do something like this, maybe more dark. Alright, so here we are. We have our background. We're going to make a new layer. So remember I said we're going to work with the pen tool. So let's work with the pen tool. We're going to make a Christmas tree, and we're going to make like a kind of curvy Christmas tree. So let's start right here, and we're going to rough in our points, and then we'll refine them with our tools. So with the first point made, we'll come up here in the middle somewhere, and we'll just make a curve. And then we'll come over here, and we'll make another curve. Okay, and we'll come over here, we'll make a curve. We'll come over here, we'll make a curve. And you kind of got to have a little bit of vision. We're going to go curve back and forth. So we're going to move these points around whenever we want to, but we just have to have the points there just kind of as a rough starting point. So don't be discouraged when you see your shape isn't the way you like it, because it's impossible to control this tool and get an exacting shape without moving them into specific point areas that you want to be in. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I'll show you in just a second. So basically I'm putting 2 points on each curve at the corners, and that's going to allow me to manipulate them easily. Okay, and this ought to do it. Okay, so now what we can do, if we need to add a point somewhere, we just click there. No buttons or anything pressed, just click it. Now, you see the plus sign, that added it. Now, if you hover one that you just created, you want to get rid of it, you just click again, and that will get rid of it because you have the minus sign. So, add a point, take a point away. Alright. Now, if you hold down the control key, that's the command key on a Mac, what you can do is you can move these points around. You can also manipulate these handles. Okay, so there's a handle on both sides, so we can control what kind of curves and which direction they're going to go, and how long or short these curves will be. So this is where you can get your artistic your artistic ability. This is where you can express yourself the way you want and get the finished product exactly how you envision. So I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to clean these curves up here. Okay, and I'm going to get them exactly the way I want. And then I will unpause the video and I'll come back and I'll show you the finished curve. So I'll be right back. Just want to show you a little bit more how this works here. So you just kind of grab these handles and you pull them the way you like. If the handles get turned around, you just flip them around. You see? And you can get a really nice curve any way that you like. So we can fix them up really nice with not too much effort. Stretch these handles out and you can get a nice curve. We'll pull this down. And see, we need to add a point here. So we'll control to select the curve, and we're going to add one in. Okay, we didn't have one where we want it. And if you have one where you don't need it, then you can just get rid of it. So I'm going to pause it and finish. Okay, here we have our first curve. Okay, so it's nice and clean the way we want it. If you happen to click off of the curve, you can always hold down the control key or command key and click back on the curve and work on any of the handles, adding and subtracting just like we showed. So this is what we're going to do now. We're going to come in our brushes and we're going to load a brush. Okay, if you don't have your calligraphy brushes loaded, first I'll reset all the brushes so you can see where we're at here. So we'll click OK. This is where your brushes are standard start. And we're going to load a calligraphy brush. It's called the calligraphic brushes. It's a calligraphy brush. We're going to click append and it's going to add that to the brush collection instead of substituting it. So we'll grab this one here. It's kind of a flat one. It's going to create like a ribbon effect. And what we're going to do is we're going to stroke this. When you're in the brush tool, first of all, it's hard. Make sure this brush is hard. Okay, and we're on 20. That's fine. And we want it to be white. Okay, so with that selected, come down to your brush, your pen tool, and if you right click, you can say stroke path. And we're going to choose brush from the drop down menu. Click OK, and it will stroke our path. Let's see here. Maybe we didn't have a big enough brush. So we'll try that again. I think I must have hit something else. So we're going to go do that again with our pen selected. I click stroke path. I don't want that selected. Back that off. Right click, stroke path. Yeah, it selected the eraser. Brush tool. And now we have this ribbon effect. So if I select off of it, you can see that we've got this ribbon effect. So right now you could come over and put some text on it and call that a day. However, we're going to do something else. What we're going to do is we're going to go back into with our pen tool selected, and we're going to grab these points. We're going to control click, and we're going to move these points, and we're going to kind of overlap them a little bit. We're going to shift them off of where they were, and we're going to make another stroke on the path, and it's going to let us double stack this effect. It's not going to replace the stroke, it's going to add another stroke on the path. So we're just going to move some of this stuff around a little bit. Modify it real quick. I'm not going to go into too big a depth on this tutorial. I just want to give you some creative freedom to understand what's happening when we do this. Okay, so we've got this path here. We'll do the same thing as before. We'll change our brush size. So go to our brush and we'll change it to maybe a 35. Okay, and we're going to change the color of the brush. Come over here. We're going to grab a green color and we'll lighten it up some. Maybe like this kind of color. It's kind of a gray. There's a light green. Alright. And we'll go to our pen tool again. We'll right click. We'll substroke it. And this time we're going to simulate pen pressure. And we click OK. And it adds another stroke. So let's zoom in. Let's see here. So now you can see that we could do 3 or 4 of these. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to fill in our tree with multiple strokes, different color pens, different size pens, and different paths. So grab our control key and let's just start moving this stuff off. And just to keep exaggerating the path. But roughly stay within the framework that we built. You don't have to manipulate all of them. Just move them around a little bit. Probably leave that one alone. Let's see. Move that one out. Move this one out a little bit. I'm sorry for these long tutorials, guys. This creative stuff takes some time, especially when you're working with these pen tools. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and change our color again. And maybe we'll go with a darker color green. Maybe somewhere in this area. Okay, and we can even change the brush again. So maybe we want to go with maybe a 45. Let's go with a 60 this time. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with our pen tool. Right click, stroke subpath, brush simulate pen pressure. So that means it will fade off at the bottoms and only be fat in the middle. Click OK, and then we have another stroke. Okay, so we'll do it one last time, and we'll put a white stroke on top, and we won't simulate the pen pressure. So pause the video and I'll move these points. Okay, so we have all of our points moved around again. We'll go ahead and select a white brush. Cancel that. I'm going to grab our brush tool. Make it white. Okay, and we'll go back in and we'll grab. Let's try this. Let's try this 28 here. Okay, white brush selected. Grab our pen icon. Alright. So that is pretty cool. So now we've got our brush, kind of our multiple stroke patterns, all from the same path. Let's add some effects on this. We'll go to these blending options here, and I'll bring them up so you can see them. We're going to do a drop shadow, and our drop shadow color will be the same color similar to as our greens that we've been using. So somewhere in this area. And you can see that we can add another dimension by using a drop shadow. Okay, and you can make it kind of like a really soft drop shadow, or just a defined one. Alright, so let's add that right there. Gives us some depth to this. And we're also going to do an outer glow. And we're going to also change that color to a similar green that we've been using. Maybe a brighter one. Okay, we're going to put this on normal. And this is where we can add a spread to it, and we can change the size. So we can bring this down, the spread. And you can change the opacity if you want it to be really bright and glowing, or not very much. Guys, I'm sorry about my voice. Still fighting this sickness. Okay, so our tree's looking pretty good. And you can also do inner glow if you want to play with that one as well. Change it to another, again, a similar color to what we're working with. And you do the same thing, except this one's choking it. Okay. So you click OK there. And the last thing we could do is a color overlay. And again, you want to work with the same colors we've been working with. A green. Maybe a darker green. And we'll grab our opacity and drag it off. And this you can tint your card if you want it more subtle. You didn't like that bright white. Or if you want it to be brighter white, you can select white, and it will, you see when we take the opacity to 100%, it makes it even brighter than it was before. Okay, so you can, that's all with color overlay. So we'll click OK there. And there you have a basic Christmas card. So you could go ahead and create a new layer. And we can align it to the right. Let's get the characters panel. I believe it's here. So we grab our text. Oops. I think we can align it this way. If you don't like that, you can play with the options up here. Maybe put it in the center. And maybe something like that. Change some of these effects here so we can tighten it up. Tighten up the text. Bring the opacity down, whatever you want it. And you could put an image there. You could do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to get rid of that layer there. And there's your basic Christmas card. I know it seems like a lot of work. You could also add a star to the top of it. You could go into your shapes. Let's do that real quick. So in the shapes, you go over here underneath your rectangular tool, and you can go to custom shapes. And then here, there's a whole bunch of different ones, and you can load different ones too. Animals, arrows, objects. So we can append these objects. You see it added more. So there's like a kind of unique star. And just drag it out. That's a badge. I'm not a big fan of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's try this star here. Maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's move it around. So there you have a Christmas tree. Center of the card, right of the card. Put your text wherever you want. Well, this has been a 20-minute video on how to make a curvy Christmas tree. I hope you enjoy watching it because it's kind of a pain in the neck to do, but it does open up a lot of creative freedom. Thank you all for visiting my blog today. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, we'll see you soon.